How to end generational trauma. As a mother of 3 kids who had generational trauma, I experienced generational trauma. My parents experienced generational trauma. How can we stop generational trauma is one of the biggest conundrums of this life for me. Like, how can we stop abusing our kids? And here's the thing that we have to take responsibility for that I had no idea was happening to me, that my nervous system was being calibrated to attract fear, guilt, and shame, was calibrated for me to pay the most attention to fearful, guilt-ridden, shameful people and experiences. Like, that's where it draws my attention. So my perception of life is like, life sucks. Fuck this shit. Like, I'm out, and I attempted suicide 7 years ago. So when I said, it was that bad, like it was fucking that bad. And I am here to tell you, I am the reincarnation of Mary Magdalene and the divine feminine. I also resonate with Native Americans, and there's a whole story there. You can check out my YouTube channel. But today I'm going to talk about generational trauma. What is it, and how does it negatively impact everyone? Including the fire department, who are here to protect us and save us, So let's talk about all of that. And I'm going to rely on Dr. Gabor Maté, who is a family medicine practitioner out of Canada, and he specializes in how childhood trauma impacts adults. Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroscience. Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Like, I love me some doctors. I have a master's degree in East Asian religious studies from the University of California at Santa Barbara. So I really value academia and scholarly work. And all the men in my family are engineers. So my left brain is full engineer, but my right brain is full spiritual. So I'm like a spiritual engineer, so to speak. So I'm going to explain to everybody in simple, concrete terms, what is generational trauma and what we can do individually to stop it. And why don't we start with Dr. Andrew Huberman, because he really gets to the point that we can, stop all these things outside of us as much as we want. But as long as our internal reality is calibrated for fear, guilt, and shame, then that's our reality. So the process of healing is recalibrating your nervous system to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment, which keeps you calm most of the day, as opposed to fear, guilt, and shame when you're constantly looking at like, what's next and what the fuck, and oh no, those are the kids today. Like, more than half of the kids today do not have a secure attachment to self in America, which means they're mentally ill. Why are so many teachers quitting? Like, why are kids at 8, 9 years old, this is like repeated story, making sex sounds, like the whole class of 20, 30 kids making sex sounds? That never happened 10 years ago. What the fuck's wrong with us? We got to get our shit together. Okay, so let me pull up Dr. Huberman, and here he is.
What we need to do is start to figure out how we can, I think, especially for the next generation of kids, how to teach them to regulate their nervous system so that they recognize that pulse of adrenaline as placing them in a compromised position. Like, we have to leverage the idea that being able to hear and listen hinges on the ability to be calm. So therefore, the ability to be calm is crucial to hearing and hearing and listening is crucial to our advancement as individuals and as groups.
And today we're having a lot of people who are having a hard time listening and staying calm. The federal authorities, they are not the Gestapo. They are getting people who are killing us out of the country. That's why in 2025, our crime rate dropped the biggest time ever by 20%, because the Trump administration is getting the criminals out of the country. So, yeah.
The problem is everyone's been trying to do this backwards. They've said we all have to get along. We have to cancel culture. We all have to, listen to one another. And I think, again, we have to start from the inside.
Cancel culture is an external solution to an internal problem, just like communism or socialism or Christianity as well. God is out there and he's going to tell you what to do so you don't have to take accountability for your crap. He just, Jesus will forgive you when you enter the pearly gates. What? So I don't have sovereignty over myself. And if I don't have sovereignty over myself and I'm unhappy, I can just blame God. So I'm the victim. Do you see? When we start with the self and we end with the self, then we take accountability for the self and what the self creates. Our external reality is a reflection of our internal reality. And, he's teaching you that right here.
You have to teach it physiologically. Now, I don't have a master plan on how to do that, but one of the reasons I'm here and one of the reasons I'm, teaching neuroscience on Instagram and not just in my laboratory is until we can learn to regulate the self, I don't think we're going to get where we want to go as a culture. What we need to do is...
Yeah, we have to learn how to regulate the self. I mean, it used to be highly inappropriate to yell and scream in public. Like, people would go listen to one person give a talk for the left and then one person give a talk for the right and then, discuss it with their friends and then, make their decision about what they really think or feel. They would consider both sides. Why has that stopped now? Why has that stopped? Because everyone gets triggered. Trigger warning, safe space, oh my God. It's an external solution to an internal problem. It'll never work. And so if, the pipes are running wild, the water's all over my house on the inside of the house, doesn't do me any good to do a rain dance outside. I gotta fix my problem on the inside. So how does this work that our nervous system creates our reality? How is reality created? All right. So let's start with the soul, with the energy body, and then we're going to get back to Dr. Gabor Maté in a second. But physicists have proven that we all have energy bodies. Okay. And Einstein said the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. The field meaning the energy field, the particle meaning the body. Okay, so if physiologically, and the whole field, scientific field of epigenetics proves this because they've proven that less than 1% of our diseases come from genetics. Less than 1%. So if it's not in our genes, it's got to be somewhere before the genes, that's what epi means. Epi means before the genes. And the most before you can get is the energy field. Well, what energy field? I'm in my own energy field. But my energy field changes based on the people I interact with. Do I internalize negativity? Do I internalize positivity? It's all based on how I spend my time. So if I spend a lot of time in my fear, guilt, and shame, like I did, when I was 51, I finally figured out that I feared all men. Whoa, that's half the population, right? So I had to figure out why I perceived that life is anxious, depressed, unhappy, argumentative. All of my experiences in my life told me that life fucking sucks. Now other people are loving life. I'm like, well, my life sucks. Well, why does your life, wait, what? We're in the same reality. Oh, we're not in the same reality. But what does that mean? We're not in the same energy field because the field is the sole governing agency of the particle. And let's watch let's get to Bruce Lipton because he talks about kids and adopted kids and we can bring that back around, Dr. Gabor Maté. Okay. Let me find, Power Epigenetics, wonderful.
He says complementary chemistry that matches that picture and it releases it into the body. And the chemistry of the blood is what controls the genes and the behavior. Children, when adopted into a family where there's cancer running in that family, the adopted child will get the same family cancer. But the point, the adopted child has totally different genetics. What was the point? It was being adopted into a family where the programming of that child is what caused the cancer.
Programming is the field. The thoughts, the beliefs. Do I spend time happy and dancing in my head? Oh yeah, I love life. Okay, I'm not getting sick. I hate life, I hate life, I hate life, then my body mirrors that back to me. Our bodies are a mirror of the soul. Everything is a mirror of the soul. We're a soul having a human experience. We come here to see ourselves for self-improvement opportunities. That's why we have challenges in life, to learn our lessons, to improve ourselves.
It's consciousness who releases the chemistry to the environment that controls the genes. And you can change your consciousness, and you can change your environment. And all of a sudden I said, oh my God, we were programmed to be victims. It turns out we are masters of our genetic activity. And this is the new science called epigenetics. Whatever picture.
We were programmed to be victims. I just did a video on how Christianity equals the victim mindset, because in Christianity, God is an external controller. Well, if someone else is in control of me, then that places me subservient to them. Oppressor, oppressee, victim mindset. And that's not even true, because I'm the only one that has sovereignty over my soul. Like, it doesn't matter if Jesus or my dad or my sister or my brother forgive me, because that doesn't change the frequency of my soul. And that's what matters, my consciousness. It doesn't change my beliefs. People, I was 51 and I finally figured out that I feared all men. I was like, well, sure, some men, but not all men. So not until I, on my own way, change the constitution of my soul, then I became less anxious. Then I had less cortisol. Then my daughter noticed the next day immediately in public. We were at a market. She used to sell jewelry. Mom, Mom, you're better. What's going on, Mom? Immediately, she knew. This one right there. Those are my 3 kids, and that's my mom. So, yeah, that was, crazy for me. But then I had to think, okay, there's a really great question that someone interviewing Dr. Gabor Maté asked, so we can kind of get into trauma and does it start in childhood? And if you don't have childhood trauma, can you get trauma later in life? That's a good question, right? Like, when does it start? And that's a really important question for the fire department. I'll get back to that in a second. But let's listen to Dr. Gabor Maté. Let me figure out what is the let me find him. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Does everything go back to childhood? Can people experience a trauma at 16, 21, 29, 33 that will impact them so severely as an adult?
If you look at the studies on post-traumatic stress disorder, 100 soldiers go into battle, 20 come out with PTSD, 80 don't. Why not? The 20 that go home with PTSD are the people who were traumatized in childhood. And the adult experience simply triggers the old trauma.
Yeah, so if you don't learn how to surf the waves of life and then go into your emotional pain and come out of it as a child, you program and teach your nervous system that you need to hold on to all that shame, guilt, and fear. Hold on to it, and then you're holding on to it, running around like a crazy person. Okay, that's what happens. And then when we enter more trauma, we don't know how to process it, so we hold on to more trauma, and we're just like trauma holders. We're just here going, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know how to surf the waves of life. I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do. But if you know how to surf the waves of life and you have a supportive family, then you go into your pain, you come out of it, and you move on. No trauma.
Even in concentration camp survivors, those that had safe, supportive early childhoods had a much better chance of coming out of it without significant trauma symptoms. I think it all goes back to childhood. I think that's when our brain is formed, that's when our personality is formed, that's when our fundamental beliefs about the world are formed, that's when we develop either positive or negative attitudes towards ourselves, towards our possibilities. I think it's all happens in the template of childhood. And later on,
So that's what his work is all about, is how the childhood impacts the adult life. And so I had to, so the process of healing from your trauma is often called reparenting. And this is why, because you need to learn how to recalibrate your nervous system to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment instead of fear, guilt, and shame. And I learned how to do that by learning how to go into my emotional pain and out of my emotional pain, learn how to surf the waves of life. And let me show you another physics experiment showing how this is helpful to get the energy moving. Like moving energy is alive energy. When you're stuck in your fear, you're stuck. And you repeat the same experiences. You attract in the same, like I attracted in similar men. Okay, Andrew Tate and his best friend Justin Waller are two of those men. And then I went to the fire department and then the FBI. Okay, so I attract in a certain kind of guy because I have certain kind of wounds. And men are just the same. You hear so many women, why are all men narcissists? I'm like, okay, girlfriend, all the men you attract into your life are narcissists. It doesn't mean all men are narcissists, but because we all create our own reality, in her reality, the men that she interacts with that draw her attention are the narcissists because they're the best mirror to trigger her emotional wounds to surface. Like, oh shit, that's me. Oh shit. Oh, that's, oh. I mean, that's what triggering really is. It's like your pain's at the surface. Fuck. Oh, that was me. Okay, so let's watch this video about really how the laws of physics, our souls are energy bodies, so laws of physics apply, and how what's the difference between having to go in the hills and valleys and difference in the energy. So let me bring that up for us.
Take a closer look. Now this is a classic physics problem where we have two tracks that start at the same position and end at the same position, but their path from one side to the other is completely different. Now these balls are able to roll down the tracks, so the question is, if I were to release them simultaneously, which track would get the ball to the opposite side the quickest? Well, let's give it a try. So the shortest distance between 2 points is not necessarily the fastest.
So that shows you that when we surrender to our fear, guilt, and shame, and I'll show you why that's down in a second, and we learn how to process our emotions, then we pull the wisdom and the knowledge out of the challenge that we had, right? So here's an example of how I learned to do that. So about 8 years ago, I've been healing for about 10 years now. So 8 years ago, I'd been doing it some, and so I was getting the hang of things. And I had an argument with my youngest daughter over here, and I needed to apologize, but I was having a hard time apologizing. So I asked myself, why can't I apologize? And my subconscious, my shadow, my wound told me this is what I heard. You are afraid that if you apologize, your loved ones will leave you. I'm like, that's not logical. How is that logical that they're going to leave me when I act in a healthy way? But see, that's a fear. Fears are inverted wisdom. Now, sure, if a lion is chasing me, legitimate fear, cars coming, jump. But holding on to fears in our day-to-day life, like we live in America, that's not logical. So then I was like, well, if I apologize, she'll want to stay. And then when I turn the wound into wisdom, because the wound is inverted wisdom, it's upside down, it's illogical, I turn it into wisdom, like, oh, okay. So I let go of that fear, and then now I can apologize, and I don't have that problem anymore. But having that problem enabled me to learn how to turn my emotional wounds into personal wisdom, and that is a smaller wave. That was before my suicide attempt. And, you don't start surfing on the 70-foot wave off of Portugal. You start on the 1-foot wave on a longboard, especially at my age, 55. So it's important to give yourself space and time to learn how to go into your emotional pain and then come out of it. And the faster the energy, the more transformative it is. So the more you kind of let go of wounds, the more you expand your emotional range. Let's kind of look at what is our emotional range, because my healing experience taught me something that my master's degree did not, okay? And I have a master's in East Asian religious studies. That's pretty wise, right? Okay. Here we go. Okay, here is the map of consciousness from Dr. David R. Hawkins, who wrote Power versus Force. He has a doctorate and a PhD, so the man knows a few things, okay? As you see, enlightenment is on the list, love, neutrality, courage, pride, anger. Those are emotions. I'm like, enlightenment is an expression of the soul, and I was taught that it's like otherworldly. Kind of like God, like, Buddhism, enlightenment, I mean, a little otherworldly. God, otherworldly, which then, of course, makes you subservient and, okay, I'll behave. And that's the setup for the victim mindset, not healthy. But what I learned is that I don't need the church, I don't need Buddha to access the divinity inside of my own soul. And enlightenment is divinity because I receive profound wisdom and I release catastrophic fears. It's the most transformative emotion because, as you see here, 700 to 1,000 hertz, it vibrates that high. It vibrates that high. Love is, half. The first time I experienced enlightenment, it was 3 days because as women, to get into our emotions and get out of our emotions physiologically, it takes us a lot longer because we're the emotional center. And I wasn't overweight. I went to hot yoga 5-6 days a week. I lost 12 pounds sitting in my chair experiencing enlightenment because I was like, zzz, vibrating so high, When it hit, I heard enlightenment, 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 like an alarm. I'm at that level, I'm at that level. So, and if we kind of scroll down, we can see that shame is the lowest vibrating emotion at 20 hertz. And this is why you have to learn how to surf the waves of life. The emotions go in a little and come out a little, because you can't just go from 20 hertz to 1,000 hertz without your body like having a heart attack. Okay, you have to train the neurology to handle it. I had to let go of so much emotional pain, so I wasn't constantly getting triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered. There was a lot of triggering, but I had to process the triggers before I could expand my emotional range to include enlightenment, which is normal and healthy for every human being. Normal and healthy for every human being. No one ever taught me that. I lived in Chinese Buddhist monasteries. I learned classical Chinese. I never learned that. Never learned that. So what can we do to process our emotional pain? I have my free ebook below, which is the 6 Divine Feminine Self-Love Strategies. And then also there's a free YouTube, I had a free video on my meditation and shamanic drumming. And so go ahead and check that out. Both of those things will help you align with my energy. And the fastest moving energy is the most transformative. And of course, I got a physics experiment for that. Let's look at that real quick, and then we'll end the video. But here is just proof is in the pudding, right? So let me open up this. As you'll see, the second and third metrodomes are the fastest. Pretty quickly, all 5 metrodomes will be at the same speed. I'm one of the fastest metrodomes. So when you spend time in my energy field, the ebook, the meditation and shamanic drumming video, you buy my book if you want to, then I'll be one of the 5 people that you spend the most time around, and there's the wisdom. You're the summary of the 5 people you spend the most time around, and I will just naturally help you vibrate higher, help you release your wounds just by being around my energy field. All right? So I highly encourage you to do that. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Let's all work together to stop generational trauma, because that's how we can create heaven on earth together. Remember, we all create our own reality. So if everyone's internal reality inside of their own soul is calibrated to resonate with love, compassion, and enlightenment, imagine the world we can have. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.